Tom, in the Real Clear Politics average, number one, talk to us about what it takes to actually be in the blend of polling, because you guys have a very specific methodology. You don't accept every poll that is out there. And then number two, what does your current RCP average show in the battleground states with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump?
So, yeah, we definitely, take a look at every pollster, and we don't accept any campaign polls. We don't put any PAC polls into our averages. It has to be publicly available polling data. Typically, we like to see folks that are attached to a media outlet or someone who's been, polling a state for a long time. Like every cycle, you'll get people who pop up out of nowhere who are suddenly doing battleground state polling. And we typically don't include those folks for a number of cycles until we know who they are and they have a track record and we feel comfortable with them. And so that's sort of how our process works. What's interesting, and I've been saying this, Charlie, you look at Kamala Harris had a couple of good national polls over the weekend, right? The NBC and CBS News had her up 5 and 4 points. She's up 2.2% in our Real Clear Politics national average. That is 16 polls that have been taken over the last 3 weeks. And yet, with the new data that we got this morning from the New York Times, CNN, some of these battleground states, Trump is up on average by 0.1%. So when you go back and think to 2016, Hillary Clinton won the national popular vote by 2.1%. She was leading by 3% in the polls. She won by 2.1%, and she lost the Electoral College. This has all the hallmarks to me. It reminds me very much of 2016. And, so Kamala Harris is ahead in I think Trump's only leading in 2 of the 16 national polls. But if you go, as I mentioned before, in Arizona, he's got a 2-point lead there. He's leading in every poll in Arizona. He's got a 2-point lead in Georgia. He's leading in all 7 polls that we have in our average in Georgia. He's got a narrow lead in North Carolina. And Kamala Harris has got narrow leads in Nevada and Pennsylvania is less than a point. And then she's up about 1 point in Wisconsin and 1.7 in Michigan right now. So pretty tight in the battleground states. And but certainly, I think right now it's about as close as you can possibly be. And again, if you take and translate those into the Electoral College, Kamala Harris is winning the Electoral College, I think, 272 to 266 or something like that in our map. But if Pennsylvania flips, that's the key state in this entire thing right now.
So Tom, what does your data show about the U.S. Senate? Who is likely to control it and what states are going to matter?
The Senate is looking good for Republicans, and it's a good year for the Republicans map-wise, right? There are 34 seats up, 23 defended by Democrats. West Virginia is basically a pickup for Republicans. I don't think there's anybody in America who thinks that a Democrat's going to win that seat. And so outside of that, the Democrats are doing pretty well in a lot of these incumbents, even when Biden was sort of failing back before he dropped out. Democrats were running pretty well ahead of Biden. And so those races have tightened, but Democrats are still ahead in places like Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and the like. The problem is Montana, where John Tester has not led in a single poll since Tim Sheehy won the Republican nomination there. And that's a state that's going to go for Trump by, 15, 18, 20 points or more. And so John Tester, while he's been able to win in the past, it's going to be a real uphill battle for him. He's going to have to get like 1 out of every 3 Trump voters to turn and vote for him split their ticket and vote for him. And that's just, I don't see that happening either. And so just based on that alone, Republicans would take the Senate 51-49. Now, could they win some of these other races? Pennsylvania's tightened up quite a bit. You've got, I think the Michigan race has tightened up a little bit. Arizona's tightened up a little bit. The only one that really hasn't tightened is Nevada, where Jackie Rosen still has a pretty commanding lead. And then you've got your sort of outlier in Maryland with Larry Hogan, who's within striking distance, which would be, that would be obviously if Hogan wins, I think Republicans would be in the 50. They say
that is the most Democrat state in the country, Maryland. It could be. You would know, Tom, it's top 5 most Democrat states in the country.